Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello. Welcome back. Chase Thomas podcast, taping this on a Thursday afternoon. Old friend Derek Hunt is here of the Maryville Rebels, a very good football team that's coming off a big win over this past 2 weeks. Season's been all over the place. This has been one of the I've been local for 3 years now, Coach, and I think this is definitely the weirdest Maryville season. Has it been the weirdest for you in your coaching career?
I mean, it's been a season of ups and downs. So if that falls in the weird category, then maybe, but definitely some ups and downs. But, you know, that's part of it. That's life in general. So that's why I love football. You can learn a lot about life through it. We tell our kids that all the time. And so it's been fun still. We're having a great time. Our kids are fighting their rear ends off, and here we are.
Have you decided what you're being for Halloween? Has the wife picked out your costume? Do you have the family look ready to go? Do you know what you're doing or no?
No. So, you know, in football season, there's just not a lot of time to make kind of those decisions. So I don't even know that we know what our kids are going to be yet. So,
I mean, we're getting down to we're 12 days out, Coach.
I know, but we're kind of like, so we've got like 5 costumes, and our kids sort of pick the night before which one are you going to be this year type family.
Yes.
So, so, I mean, my kids are excited about it, but I don't even know if they've picked it out yet.
Are you a candy corn guy or no?
If it's the only thing available, I will eat some.
Okay.
But I will not pick it above really anything else. So
that's the nicest way of saying I don't like candy corn at all. That was the nicest way of saying that.
I'll eat it, but that's the thing. I'll still eat it. I just won't pick it over really much else. But I mean, if it's the only thing there, Coach David Ellis, longtime offensive line coach here, used to bring it in and called it the fall vegetables. So he would pass out fall vegetables, and I would eat it. I mean, if it's the only thing in the office, I'm going to partake.
Okay. Well, what's the first round pick for you? Is it Reese's Cups?
Reese's,
Is it?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, Reese's. I'm a Reese's guy. Chocolate, I prefer chocolate over anything. So anything chocolate, but Reese's is my go-to.
There you go. Coach, we were talking about like just kind of the weirdness and the ups and downs. Was that something you had forecasted though in the offseason, that like, hey y'all, when you're meeting with your coaching staff and just kind of forecasting with the schedule and what you were bringing back and just kind of the youth on this team, did you see that this was potentially in the cards, that this was going to be kind of an up and down type year for your team?
I didn't see it really different than any other year, to be honest with you. I am unfortunately plan for the worst kind of person, and so every off season's like that. You know, what if? Yeah, and for me anyway. And so no, I mean, I wasn't sitting there this off season going, this is going to be a down. No, I mean, like we've had a lot of stuff happen that we could have never predicted as far as injuries go, and we knew we were replacing a lot of good players, but like teams do that all the time. So, and Maryville's done that for a long time. Now, I don't know about 17. 17's a lot. We usually replace anywhere from, 9 to 14, but we had 17 seniors starting last year, which is a lot for us. So, had a lot of inexperienced guys, but still felt like we were going to have a really good team, and we do.
Yeah.
We're getting better. Those young guys that have stepped in some of those injury-filled holes are getting better. They're gaining experience. We're playing. We played last week, our best game of the season. Now Alcoa is a completely different level for sure, but that'll be tested.
Absolutely. We'll get into Alcoa in a little bit. But what position group, you're talking about like just kind of getting better and better, which position group has had the most growth in the last couple of weeks for you?
Last couple of weeks? That's tough because I could really probably talk about every one of them. But I think our defensive line probably is easy to talk about. I mean, so we had, I think, 8 sacks last week against Cleveland, which was huge. Huge, put pressure on them and kind of take them out of what they wanted to do. And they did a great job. But and we've got 3 seniors on the D line, so that makes a difference too. But the reality is, like I said, I can talk about the DBs, linebackers, quarterbacks, O-line, receiver. I mean, I could talk about any of them and felt confident that, hey, we're getting better.
What's been the biggest challenge a team has thrown at you that made you wonder the most about how your team would respond? It could be any game in any moment, but which one for you?
Well, so Gage LaDue is one of the best leaders we've ever had at Maryville.
Why?
Phenomenal kid. Well, because he is a lead by action guy.
Mm.
He's probably the toughest dude we've got on the team, or one of them. I mean, he was a two-way starter for us going into the season, and obviously broke his leg against Heritage. When he went down, that was probably my biggest concern. He was going to be a huge loss to offense, to defense. But I was most concerned with who's going to step up and lead. You know, who's going to take the bull by the horns. And that took some time, to be honest with you. You know, because I felt like we still had a really good football team, and but he's a senior. He's paid his dues. He's done everything that we've ever asked him to do. All he did last year when forced, well, not really, I shouldn't say forced into running back role, because he played some running back. But when Noah Vaughn went down and he moved to full-time running back instead of kind of playing slot receiver and fullback and a little bit of everything, all I did was rush for 1,000 yards in like 5.5 games. So losing him as a leader was huge early on in the year, and I didn't know how we were going to respond to that. That was probably the scariest moment. Being down in games and battling back, that's part of playing any sport. I mean, I don't care how dominant you are. At some point, if you do this long enough, you're going to have years like this. You're going to have seasons where, some people may be better than you, or for whatever reason, they got more talent, or they're better coached, or they're older, whatever the case. There's 1,000 different reasons why it could happen. And to us, it was kind of the perfect storm. We were already inexperienced. We had some key, we lost starting running back, linebacker, and quarterback, right tackle in about a span of like 10 days. It was like bam, 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 and so we're scrambling to try to put our best foot forward. And now here we are, and I think we've kind of gained our footing. We got to the bye week and had some great practices. I mean, spirited practices. Our coaches were getting after it. Our kids were, unlike I had seen before this year, and that was exciting. And that just goes to show that our kids aren't going to give up. And I knew that. Something we talk about all the time. Man, it was special to see. One of the pictures that I share with our team it's that little game. I don't even know what it's called, but the kids knew what it was. But it's that guy who's underground digging, trying to find the treasure. And he's so close to finding it, and he stops and turns around. And then you got the guy right above him who's not as far yet, but he's continually digging. That's my message to our guys were over the open week. I was like, guys, we're so close. Like, we are so close. The only way we fail at this point is if we quit. If we just mail it in. And our guys have not quit. They didn't come close to quitting. And I don't know how the rest of the season's going to go. It may not go our way. I hope it does. I hope we can make a deep playoff run, and who knows. But our guys aren't going to quit. I know that. And that's what's most exciting. And, that's what makes this fun is, you got a bunch of guys behind your back.
Do you feel like you know what your identity on both sides of the ball, your identity is? Has it been established with all the different guys in and out? Do you feel like you know exactly what the best version of Maryville football has to look like at this point in the year?
Yeah. I would not say that we have discovered that yet.
No.
I say we'd have a pretty good idea. I say we're a lot closer than we were a month ago, for sure. The problem is every time you replace a key player, you're kind of reforming your identity, and especially at quarterback. And so, because as an offensive coach, I've always felt like you have to form your offense around what your quarterback can do and what they do well. And so that's why every year is a little bit different, and your offense changes just because, it's high school football. So we can't go get certain kind of players to run our offense like colleges do. We coach who shows up. And so your quarterback's different each year. You got to adjust a little bit each year. And that's why I love it. I love doing that and trying to figure out what they're good at, putting them in the best positions. And I think we have a better idea than I did a month ago on both sides. And that's why I think we're playing better.
When you look at just having a young quarterback, what's the hardest part about coaching at that position? Like, as someone quarterback and offensive mind coach, what's the hardest thing to get through to a young quarterback at this level?
Yeah, it's 100% me as a coach assuming. So I do way too much assuming with young quarterbacks. Carson Jones was a 2-year starter for us. Cade Chambers was another guy that played a lot of football for us, and even Casey Cobble, who was our starter at the beginning of the year, and broke his collarbone, so he's been out. But he had been around, the game. He had been around our offense for essentially 2.5 years now. He knew what was going on. So with some of those guys, like, I could say things or call something or or mean something that they knew what I was talking about if they'd been around for a while. But when you're coaching somebody brand new to the system or the offense or they're freshmen, I have been caught in assuming that they know what I'm talking about, and they don't. And so if they go make a mistake, it's a lot of times it's my fault, not theirs, And so I've had to learn how to adjust and make sure to listen. I'm going to try to be more black and white, and make sure that I do a better job explaining what the expectations are and what the decision needs to look like. And here's what you might see. And here's what I mean when I say this. So that they can play better.
What is the most unique thing? You've coached a lot of quarterbacks at Maryville now. What's the most unique thing about Will Jones going forward that you're excited about as he gets older?
The most unique thing is I've never had a quarterback that I've had to drive to school after film. Our junior high's down the road and he's 14 years old. And so that's unique. That is unique. He doesn't even have his learner's permit yet, I don't think. So
goodness gracious.
He's very young, but he's confident. And I wouldn't say this is necessarily unique for Maryville quarterbacks, but it probably is for a lot of kids his age playing in a big moment. There's every team's got freshmen that are starting, or most of them do somewhere along the way, but he doesn't get messed up by the pressure. He doesn't let that bother him the moment. He doesn't flinch in a big game like Bearden. When we're in overtime and it's region seeding on the line. So that's pretty unique. It's pretty special for him, I would say.
That was a great game. I love that game was just so much fun. I mean, I asked you after if you had any second guessing after the going for two. Still feel the same? You still feel pretty good about it? That with that play call based on what you saw all day?
Yeah, well, certainly when you watch the film, you learn new things, and I did. That was our best play all night on short yardage set. Bearden made some adjustments on that play, and they had a kid make a heck of a play. So I think hindsight, if I knew that was going to happen, certainly I would have changed the play call, but I'd still go for it. We're going to play to win, and I feel like we probably had 15 other plays that could have worked and gotten us 2 points and won the game. And I'm still a little bitter over that one. I'm trying to move on because I know at this point there's nothing I can do about it. I can't control it.
No, but also, I mean, Bearden's a locomotive right now. Like they're
a great football team. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But when you get that close, we got to win those. Yeah, I realize that we got to win those, and that's why it stings. It stinks. I want to win it. Our coaches want to win it. I want our kids to experience that and get to enjoy it. And dang it, they deserve it. So, obviously, I take a lot of blame for not allowing it or getting it to happen. Our kids fought their rear ends off. It was awesome.
It was a great game. It was definitely one of those you're just glad you get there, and the atmosphere was back and forth, and it really had everything. Missed field goals, going for two, and everything else. Have you gotten more aggressive as a coach as you've gotten older? Or because I know a lot of coaches, the longer they coach, they tend to get more conservative. Are you getting more aggressive as a play caller as you've gotten older, or is it going the other way?
So aggressive as in like going for it on fourth down? I think
going for it on fourth down.
We do that all the time. I mean, but we try to be smart about it. I mean, like we're not just doing it because that's our philosophy. We're going to go for it every fourth down. But I mean, if we feel confident as an offense and our whole staff, that we've got a great offensive staff, and really a lot of it has to do with defense too. How good do we feel about defense? And so I'm always talking to our defensive coaches during a game, especially a drive. Yeah. And we talk about that every single week. Coach Jeremy Russell is kind of like our game coordinator. And so, we have a discussion about going for it on fourth, where, when, why. And a lot of times he's in my headset saying, hey, this is, we're not the fourth down. It might be first and goal or not first and goal, but first and 10, anywhere on the field where we've talked about it. And we've said, hey, this is a place where we decide we want to go for two, go for it on fourth down. And the same thing is going for two. And so, we talk about that as a staff. I think everybody was on board with going to play for the win against Bearden, going for two. But I don't know, but I've gotten more aggressive as a play caller. I think it's the same. It's not something that I certainly track. A lot of it has to do with what we look like on offense, who we've got that year, how we're playing, and also how we're playing in that certain game. So.
That's interesting too. Is like from an outside observer, it's just like something you would overlook is just that like you're talking to like even on first down, you're talking to your defensive coaches. Of like, how do you feel if I do get aggressive here 3 downs from now? How do you feel about that? Where do you think that's worthwhile on your end? I don't want to put you in a bad spot, so you're always talking. That's interesting.
I check with our DCs. Anytime there's a tough one, even early in the game, a lot of times you'll get to, I will never do it really backed up unless we have to try, unless we're losing and have to. But if we feel like we've got a good play, sometimes I don't feel good about it. We'll just punt it. If I don't want to do it just to do it, we'll punt it and play defense. But if we feel good about, something that we think we can get it, whether it's 4th and 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, I'll check with them, and more times than not, they're pretty confident too.
What's the biggest way you've had to adjust your personnel? Like what you want to do to your personnel this year? What would you say is the biggest adjustment for you?
So we started off with really 2 running backs on the field all the time with Gage and Price Davis, even though Price was playing more of like a fullback slot receiver type, just like Gage did last year. But we have a tight end in Eli Elkins who's really good. So we were more of a 21 personnel team, which we haven't been that in a while. We've been 11 personnel for probably the last 4 or 5 years. And, when we won the state championship in 2017, we were a 21 personnel team where we played 2 running backs a lot and a tight end and 2 receivers. But in 2019, we played probably more receivers than we did running backs, even though we still had 2 really good running backs. So, but this year playing more running backs. And then when Gage got hurt, we have shuffled. So there's been weeks where I'm like, all right, we're pretty much a 12 team now. And then the next week somebody gets injured and it's like, all right, we're an 11 personnel team now. More receivers, 1 tight end, 1 back. We were that for a couple of weeks. Or Vananda Walker starts playing really well.
Great game against Bearden.
Yeah, he did. Now we're back to a 21 personnel team. Now we can get 2 backs on the field. Well, he gets hurt. Now we're back to an 11. So, man, we've adjusted this year. We have had to make some adjustments, and I feel like it keeps happening each week. But our kids are still improving.
Are they mostly like freak injuries? Are you getting is this the most injury issues you've ever dealt with at Maryville?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to say. And yeah, I think they're freak, think, anytime you break a collarbone, like that's kind of, we've had 2 of those. That's kind of freaky. We had a kid break a nose in pre-practice. When does that ever happen?
How does that happen?
Yeah, well, and so it's pre-practice. So
the
kids are walking around getting their stuff ready, and he just clips another helmet without a helmet on. It just, like I said, a freak accident.
The odds aren't high.
Stuff like that. Yeah, and then rolling an ankle or, in Gage's case, he broke his leg early in the year.
Yeah.
We don't have that happen very often. So, yeah, it's just bad luck. But again, it happens to everybody. Sometime, at some point, you're going to have bad injuries and stuff. And what we're trying to do is just prove that we can still overcome. We can't make excuses about it. It is what it is. We've got beat, whether we had everybody with us or not, doesn't matter. And so I can promise you, nobody's going to feel sorry for Maryville Rebels. We've had our share of successes. I don't think they're lining up to send condolences by any means. But
do you think you're getting the best every week? Like you can just feel it from opposing fan base and everything else that they're just kind of like they're just circle that you're getting the best version of.
I really felt it at Bradley.
Really?
Yeah, because we've played down there a lot in the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm good friends with Coach Damon Floyd, their head coach, and so we've gone down there, every other year. For a long time, or they've come to us, and their fan base is always passionate, but it's not like it's been a sellout crowd or anything like that. But they had a really, really, really good team this year, and there was probably a little blood in the water after we had some injuries, and everybody knew it, and so we go down there, and it was a packed house, and they were into the game as it was everything you want a high school football game to look like. 2 really good teams. And they were the better team that night. And, they got a player, Boo Carter, who's phenomenal. And he makes a play at the end of the game to seal it. We were down 8, and they sealed it and get a first down. They could knee it out, and their side was going crazy. So I think to answer your question, you could tell this year that, hey, teams are trying to take advantage of what they might think is a down Maryville team. But I still think we're pretty good. I still think we can win football games. There's no doubt about it.
Did you feel like Cleveland was a breakthrough moment for your team, or do you think it was more of a one-off and just the matchup and just kind of how you saw and feel like this we should be in good shape here, but like this is still a week-to-week thing, or do you think it was a turning point? You're like, okay, we're shifting into high gear. We're back to what fans not expect, but I mean honestly probably expect, but also are hoping is the case.
Yeah. I don't know that it was a breakthrough yet. I think time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the year we'll be able to look back and say, hey, this we played really well that night.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a breakthrough. Maybe it wasn't. It felt like one. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the best we've played all year. It was a complete game. All three aspects of the game we executed. So that it felt good from that standpoint. And Cleveland's a good team. Like they've got great athletes, and they beat some good teams. They got a great record. They got they're doing a lot of good things. So to do that on the road down there was pretty cool. I was excited for our kids. I was just happy for them. They get to celebrate with each other, and the post game on the bus home was awesome, and just enjoying that moment with our kids was really special. And so I want it to keep happening. And that's the goal. That's why we're working so hard to try to keep that going.
I like it. Final thing here, we got Alcoa this week. Obviously, I don't know if you've heard about this, Coach, but Alcoa Maryville, it's a pretty big deal usually. I don't know if you're familiar with this rivalry. It goes back a little bit. They're close in proximity. Like it's kind of a big deal. This year's Alcoa team, though, where are they most different than previous years when you're doing a film deep dive on this team?
Most different.
Yeah.
That's a tough question, mainly because I feel like Alcoa always has a similar DNA. They're going to be tough. They're going to play great defense. They're typically pretty explosive on offense. And I think they're like us in that they offensively they use what tools they have well. And I'd like to think that's what we do, So really it's going to depend on who their best players are. But they are super deep in talent this year, super deep. And they're always super good. So I don't know that that's the difference. I just think that's just a general blanket statement. They're super deep. And honestly, I think that two of their best players aren't maybe the two or three or four that get the most recruiting attention. They've got some 4-star, 5-star kids, multiple on their team that are every bit as good and deserving to be 4 and 5 stars. But they've also got some kids on their team that are maybe not getting recruited as heavily that are just as good high school football players as anybody. And that's what's impressive when you've got kids who they're not getting recruited, but you watch film and you're like, hey, this is one of their best players. Yeah. Even though he may not be ranked at all on a recruiting site. You know what I mean? And so they're just really well coached. They do a great job. We've got our hands full for sure. It's one of the best Alcoa teams I've seen. I feel like I say that every year. And it's like, daggum, they're just really good.
They're a machine. Like Coach Nick's has got it. I mean, hey, he's been injured too. Like Coach Nick's out here walking around, limping around. I forgot what he did. Did he break his leg? He did something to where he was in a brace.
Tore his quad, I believe.
Oh,
something like that. I don't know. He's in a big brace. I know that, but he's a tough guy. Yeah. He's a Maryville grad, so he's a good friend, and I've wished him the best. But I'm not surprised he's coached every game. I think from the sideline.
Yeah.
So
it's legendary stuff. I don't think I could do that. I think I'm walking around doing all that with a torn quad. What's your worst injury as a football player? Did you have? What was your worst one?
As a football player?
Yeah.
I mean, I had some concussions. That was about it. I tore my ACL, but I was playing basketball. I wasn't playing football. So
interesting.
Yeah, I would say that I was very fortunate as a football player not to have, bad injuries that kept me out of the game for a long period of time. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Final thing here. Do you have a favorite Alcoa Week tradition at Maryville? Do you have something that the school does or that you do? Do you do anything differently for Alcoa Week?
No, I don't. And I know that's a pretty crappy answer for you. That's a great question that should have a phenomenal answer, and I just can't bring justice to it. I mean, it's a big game for us. Yeah. There's no question about it. We're treating it like an opportunity to play one of the best teams in the state this year, kind of see where we stack up. Like a playoff game this late in the year. We usually play it earlier in the year, So this first time we've played at week 10. But man, as far as traditions go, I just treat it like every other game. And, it doesn't mean a whole lot from a playoff standpoint. It never has. It's just more about bragging rights. You want to beat them. When I grew up, a lot of my friends I had a lot of friends at Alcoa. We played, little league together, and you play against them with each other all the time, and spend the night at each other's houses as you're growing up. And then I actually played college football with a lot of at Maryville College with some Alcoa guys, and so that made it fun because you get to talk to those guys about it. And I remember all of my Maryville Alcoa games, but as far as going to win a championship, it's never a factor because we're in different classifications. So
yeah.
Two great programs. I think these are the two best programs in the state. There's no question in the last 20, 30 years. I don't think anybody else can say that they even touch Maryville and Alcoa as far as a program last 20, 30 years. So 5 miles apart. I mean, pretty special stuff. I mean, there's no question about it.
You just got to be careful though with the lights going out. I was there at Alcoa Bearden, and you never know when
really?
The lights might go out there.
Yeah, well, we'll call a trick play when the lights are out.
I'm telling you, they were in the middle of a throw, and they I don't think they were allowed to do a redo. Bearden wasn't in that one. That was another great matchup this fall. But just watch out. I don't know. There might be some stuff going on there. Coach,
pre-Halloween stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they do a light. I think they actually do a light show a little bit. They have some sort of lights going into maybe the fourth quarter. So you gotta watch out for that.
Yeah, we'll be ready for it. We'll put it on our scouting report.
I like it. Coach, how do the good folks support the Maryville football program this week and going forward?
Man, they can show up and support us at Alcoa. Obviously, a huge game. We turn around the very next week and finish the season with essentially a playoff game. Winner goes to the playoffs. So any Maryville Rebel fans that want to support these guys, all that's come watch us in person and cheer us on.
There you go. I like it. Coach, thank you as always for the time. I greatly appreciate it. I'll see you next week, and have a great weekend and enjoy the game, and hopefully it's an awesome one, and your side maybe get on the winning side there. So looking forward to it.
Appreciate you, man.